Hey everyone, in any busy AWS account, it can feel, well, kind of impossible to keep track of who's doing what, right? You've got developers spinning up instances, automated services pulling data, and every single action leaves a little digital footprint. So today, we're going to learn how to follow those footprints using AWS CloudTrail.
So, who does have the keys to your cloud kingdom, and what in the world are they doing with them? It's a huge question, and in AWS, the answer is hiding in plain sight, right inside the different types of events that CloudTrail logs. Think of it as the ultimate, definitive record keeper for your entire account. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we'll nail down what a CloudTrail event even is. Then, we're going to meet the 4 different types, and we'll really focus on the big 2, management and data events. After that, we'll touch on a couple of specialized types, and then we'll wrap it all up with a simple strategy you can actually go and use. Okay, first things first, let's build our foundation. What are we actually talking about when we say CloudTrail event? A CloudTrail event is, at its heart, just a record of an activity. It's a log entry that says, hey, someone or something did an action in your AWS account. And that could be anything, a person clicking around in the console, a script making an API call, or even an AWS service doing something on your behalf. It is literally your account's complete history. To make this whole thing a little easier to get our heads around, let's use an analogy. Let's imagine your AWS account is this massive, bustling digital city. Well, CloudTrail events are the official city records. Every single building permit, every security log from every office building, every traffic report, it's all in there. Now, a busy city generates a ton of records, right? It'd be chaos. So to make sense of it all, AWS organizes all these events into 4 distinct types. Let's go meet them. So we have these 4 families of events: management, data, network activity, and insights. Now, here is the most important thing to remember, and it's something that trips up so many people. By default, CloudTrail is only logging management events. That's it. You have to go in and explicitly turn the others on. So let's start with the one that's always on by default, management events. These are probably the most common and really the most foundational type of log you'll deal with. So management events, you'll also hear them called control plane operations, are all about changes to the configuration of your resources. So think about actions that create something, delete something, or modify the settings of any of your AWS services. And if we go back to our digital city, this makes perfect sense. Management events are the city's building permits. They don't track who's walking in and out of a skyscraper. They track the creation of the skyscraper itself, or a change to its zoning, or, its eventual demolition. It's all about the city's core infrastructure. So what does this actually look like? Well, it's things like someone attaching an IAM policy, creating a whole new VPC, or even setting up another CloudTrail trail. And it also captures really important non-API stuff, like the simple act of someone logging into the AWS Management Console. Now, the raw log itself can look a little intimidating, I get it, but it's really just telling a simple story. We can break it down into a simple who, what, where. The user identity field tells us who did it. In this case, an IAM user named Mary Major. The event name tells us what they did. They started logging. An event source tells us where it happened, inside the CloudTrail service. It's really that simple. Okay, let's shift gears to our next event type. If management events are the blueprints for our city, then data events are the detailed activity logs for what happens inside all those finished buildings. So, data events, or data plane operations, track actions performed on or in a resource. This is a super important distinction. We're not talking about changing a resource's settings anymore. We're talking about actually interacting with the data it holds. And because of that, they tend to be really, really high volume. Back in our digital city, this is like the security camera footage for every single building. While management events were the building permit, data events are the log of every person who swipes their keycard to get in, what files they accessed while they were inside, and what time they left. You'll see this with things like someone downloading a file from S3 using getObject, a program executing a Lambda function with an invoke call, or an application writing a new item to a DynamoDB table. These are the real workhorse operations that make your apps run, and they can happen thousands of times a minute. So let's put these two giants side by side. Management events log changes to resources. They're on by default, they're lower volume, and they're included in the price. Data events, on the other hand, log actions on or in your resources, are off by default, are super high volume, and they come with additional charges. And that cost and volume, that's exactly why they are turned off by default.
Okay, we've covered the two main types. Now let's just take a quick look at two more specialized event types that are really built for more advanced auditing and security. Network events, they're kind of like the city's telephone exchange logs. They specifically track API calls that start from inside your private network, your VPC, and go out to an AWS service. Insights events are totally different. Think of them as a citywide emergency alert system. CloudTrail uses machine learning to just watch your normal activity, and it automatically flags when something weird is going on. And here's a perfect example of how Insights works. Let's say on a normal day, your account deletes about 20 S3 buckets a minute. Then, all of a sudden, that number spikes to 100. Instead of you having to dig through thousands of logs to spot that, Insights just creates an event for you that basically says, hey, something unusual is happening with S3 bucket deletions. It's like a proactive alarm bell.
So we've met all four event types. The last piece of the puzzle is figuring out how to use them to build a logging strategy that gives you what you need without costing a fortune.
Here's a simple 4-step approach. First, just leave management events on. That's your baseline, it's the default, just let it be. Second, be really selective with data events. Don't turn them on for everything. Just pick your most sensitive S3 buckets or your most critical Lambda functions. Third, turn on Insights. Think of it as your free automated alarm system. And finally, if you have really strict compliance rules about traffic inside your private network, then you can use network events.
You know, when it comes right down to it, it's all about seeing your logs for what they truly are. They're not just some boring stream of data. When you know how to read them, they tell the complete, unabridged story of everything that has ever happened in your AWS account. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. It's one thing to collect all these logs, but are you actually listening to them? What story is your data trying to tell you right now? Thanks for tuning in.